Welcome to the Minute of Terror channel. Leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment where you are watching this video from.
I've always liked fishing alone. There's something soothing about the solitude, the sound of waves crashing against the old pier, the smell of salt and seaweed rising from the sea. The Lighthouse Point Pier, a few miles from my small coastal town, is my favorite spot. It's an old, weathered wooden structure that creaks underfoot and feels like it might collapse at any moment. But that's where I always get lucky. Big fish, the kind that spark stories at the bar, bite my hook almost every night. I don't know why, but the sea there feels generous, like it's offering me something. That night, a Friday in autumn, the sky was blanketed with dark clouds, and the air had a heavy, damp weight, like a storm was brewing in the distance. I didn't care. I grabbed my rod, tackle box, and a flashlight and drove to the pier. The gravel parking lot was deserted, as always, and the only sound were my car's engine shutting off and the steady rhythm of the waves. I walked down the pier, my steps echoing on the warp boards, and sat at the end, where the wood seems to dip straight into the Black Sea. I set up my line, baited it with a fresh piece of sardine that still reeked, and cast the hook into the water. The line sliced the surface with a soft plop, and I leaned back, waiting. The sea was calm, but something fell off in the air. It wasn't the wind or the cold. It was like the silence was heavier than usual, like the world was holding its breath. I shook my head, chuckling to myself. Getting paranoid, John, I muttered. I'd been there for about an hour with no bites, which was unusual. Normally, Lighthouse Point Pier would deliver at least a small fish within minutes. But that night, nothing. The line floated, motionless, and the bobber barely stirred on the surface. I thought about switching bait or moving spots, but something made me stay. Maybe stubbornness, or maybe that weird feeling that something was about to happen. That's when I felt the first tug. It wasn't strong like when a big fish bites. It was different, light, hesitant, like something was testing the line. I gripped the rod tighter, my heart picking up a bit. "Come on, you sneaky thing," I said, trying to keep it light. I pulled the line slowly, feeling resistance. It wasn't the weight of a fish or the pull of something caught on rocks. It was like something was holding the other end, pulling back with the same force I was using. A tug of war. Frowning, confused, I gave a harder yank. The line gave a little, then stopped again. I peered into the water, trying to see something in the darkness. My flashlight, propped beside me, lit only a small circle on the surface, but the rest was pure black. Then came the second tug, stronger, nearly yanking the rod from my hands. My body lurched forward, and my right hand plunged into the icy water. The shock of the cold made me yelp, but what froze me was something else. In the water, for a split second, I saw something. A pale, indistinct shape just below the surface. It wasn't a fish or seaweed. It was humanoid but wrong. It had the outline of a face, but the eyes, if they were eyes, were too big, glowing with a greenish hue that caught the flashlight's beam. The thing was holding my line, and I swear I saw its fingers, long and thin, wrapped around the nylon. I dropped the rod by reflex, stumbling back on the pier. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it might burst. The rod lay there, half hanging off the edge, the line still taut like something was still holding it. I took a deep breath, trying to convince myself it was just my imagination, that the darkness and exhaustion were messing with me. "Calm down, John. There's nothing there," I said, more to reassure myself than anything. But the line moved again, a slow, deliberate tug, like it was daring me. I grabbed the rod with shaking hands and started pulling, using all my strength. The resistance was immense, but it wasn't like fighting a fish. It was like something was toying with me, giving a little, then pulling back. Sweat dripped down my face despite the cold. Finally, after what felt like forever, the line came up. I yanked the hook out of the water, and the smell hit me first. It was foul, rotten, like spoiled meat mixed with something I couldn't place, something chemical, almost metallic. The hook was empty, but the line was coated in a slimy, shimmering substance that stuck to my fingers. I shone the flashlight on it and saw it was some kind of greenish mucus flecked with what looked like scales, but not fish scales. They were bigger, thicker, like they belonged to something much larger. I threw the rod down and backed away from the pier, tripping over the boards. My breath was short, and the stench seemed to cling to my hands, my clothes, everything. I looked at the water, and the surface was calm again, like nothing had happened. But I knew what I'd seen. That pale shape in the water wasn't my imagination. And worse. I felt like it was still there, watching me, waiting. I grabbed my stuff in a hurry, nearly dropping the flashlight into the sea. I ran down the pier, my footsteps echoing like thunder in the silence. When I got in my car, I locked the doors and started the engine, but I couldn't drive right away. My hands were shaking so bad, I could barely grip the wheel. I glanced in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see something on the pier, but it was empty, lit only by the faint glow of a distant streetlight. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my living room with every light on, trying to scrub that slime off my hands. It wouldn't come off. The smell seemed to stick to me, and the more I scrubbed, the more it felt like it was spreading. I showered 3 times, used soap, dish detergent, even rubbing alcohol, but nothing worked. Then, around 3 in the morning, I heard something. A low sound like water dripping, coming from the kitchen. I got up slowly, clutching a knife I grabbed from a drawer, and crept over. The kitchen floor was wet. It wasn't a leak. There were no broken pipes. It was a trail of water like someone had walked in from outside, leaving damp footprints. But the footprints weren't normal. They were elongated with marks that looked like webbing between the toes. The trail led to the back door, which I was sure I'd locked. Now, it was slightly ajar, and the foul smell was back, stronger than ever. I slammed the door shut, propped a chair against it, and ran to my bedroom. I locked the door and sat on the bed, still holding the knife. The silence returned, but it wasn't peaceful. It was like something was waiting just beyond the door, the house, the world. I stayed up all night, listening to every creak, every whisper of the wind, imagining it was her, the thing from the sea. The next day, I threw my fishing rod and all my gear in the trash. I haven't gone back to Lighthouse Point Pier, not even to grab the cooler I left behind. But the smell hasn't gone away. It shows up out of nowhere at random moments, when I open a drawer, pass a mirror, or get near any water. And sometimes at night, I hear that sound again, dripping like something wet is walking through the house. Last week, I went to the bathroom to wash my face and saw something in the mirror. It wasn't my reflection. It was her, the pale shape, with huge, glowing eyes and a half-open mouth showing needle-sharp teeth. For a moment, I swear I saw my fishing line dangling from those teeth, like she was still holding the hook. I screamed and stumbled back, but when I looked again, it was just my face pale and terrified. I haven't fished since. I don't go near the sea anymore. But sometimes when I'm near a faucet, a puddle, any water, I feel her. I feel like she's found me, like she knows where I am. And the worst part is, deep down, I know she's not done with me. The hook may be empty, but the line's still there, connecting us. And I know, sooner or later, she's going to pull again. Joe Ralph, and I have always been hooked on fishing. It wasn't just about the fish, it was the adventure, the freedom of being out in the middle of nowhere with the open sky and the quiet of nature. That autumn night, we decided to head to Salt River, a remote spot about 2 hours from our town. It's a wide river, hemmed in by dense woods, with a slow current and fish that seem to bite at anything. The sky was overcast, but every now and then, the full moon broke through, casting a silvery glow on the water that felt almost otherworldly. We got there around 8, parked by the riverbank, and unloaded the boat. A beat-up but reliable dinghy Joe inherited from his grandpa. We hauled our rods, bait, flashlights, and a cooler of beers. The plan was to fish all night, shoot the breeze, and soak in the peace. As we rowed to the middle of the river, the air felt heavy, humid, like a storm was brewing. Ralph, always the loudmouth, cracked a joke about the place looking haunted. "Check out this river, man. It's like it's hiding something," he said, laughing. Joe and I chuckled along, but deep down, I felt a shiver. The silence from the woods felt off, like something was watching us. We anchored the boat in the deepest part of the river and started setting up our lines. The moon peeked out for a moment, lighting up the far bank, and I noticed how the forest there looked thicker, darker than usual. I shook it off, blaming it on fatigue. Just tired, I thought. We cast our lines and cracked open the first beers, waiting for a bite. We'd been there about an hour, and the fishing was dead. Salt River was usually generous, but that night, nothing was biting. Joe was starting to grumble, saying we'd picked the wrong day, when we heard a noise from the opposite bank. A deep, heavy sound like branches snapping under something big, followed by a slow dragging, as if something massive was moving through the woods. We froze, rod still in hand, eyes locked on the darkness. "What the hell was that?" Ralph whispered, his voice losing its playful edge. I grabbed my flashlight, one of those high-powered ones I use for night fishing, and aimed it at the bank. Joe did the same, but the light didn't reach far enough. The far shore, about 50 yards away, was cloaked in a wall of trees and bushes. For a second, I thought I saw something move, a big, clumsy shadow that vanished too fast to be sure. "Maybe a bear," Joe said, but his voice shook. I let out a nervous laugh. "No bears around here, man. Probably just a deer or something." But it wasn't a deer. The sound came again, louder, closer. Branches cracking, leaves crunching, and now a low growl, almost like a snarl. Ralph, who never shuts up, was silent, gripping his flashlight so hard his knuckles were white. "Let's scare it off," I said, trying to sound confident. "If it's an animal, it'll run." We started shouting, banging on the boat's hull, making noise. "Get out of here!" "Go on!" we yelled, our voices echoing across the river. Then the thing answered. A guttural roar, so loud it made my ears ring, came from the bank. It wasn't an animal sound, not like anything I'd ever heard. It was deep, resonant, like it came from something with massive lungs. Before we could react, we heard a deafening splash. The thing had jumped into the water. The impact was so strong it felt like the whole river shook, waves slamming against the boat and nearly tipping us over. The moon broke through the clouds for a moment, and I saw, or thought I saw, something huge cutting through the water, a shadow bigger than our boat, moving at an impossible speed. "Start the boat. Start it now," I shouted, my heart racing. Joe, closest to the motor, yanked the cord so hard he nearly fell. The engine sputtered, choked, and for a terrifying moment I thought it wouldn't start. Ralph was aiming his flashlight at the water, but it only caught waves and foam. "It's coming. It's coming for us," he yelled, his voice cracking with fear. I looked where the light was pointing and saw ripples in the water like something was swimming toward us, way too fast. The engine finally roared to life, and Joe gunned it, the boat lurching forward. "Head for the shore. The shore," I shouted, gripping the side to keep from falling. The water slapped against us, cold and stinging my face, and the sound of the thing in the water, steady, heavy strokes, was getting closer. I didn't want to look back, but I couldn't help it. I swung my flashlight, and for a split second, I saw something break the surface, a massive, hairless head with glowing red eyes like burning coals in the dark. It wasn't human, but it wasn't an animal either. It was something wrong, something that didn't belong here. We hit the shore hard, the boat smacking into the dirt. We scrambled out, tripping over mud and rocks. "To the car. Get to the car," I yelled, running, feeling the ground shake behind us. The sound of the water churning grew louder, and then I heard something new, something heavy dragging itself out of the river, like the creature was climbing onto the bank. We reached the car, an old beat-up sedan that felt too small to save us. I jump into the driver's seat, Joe on the passenger side, Ralph in the back, all of us panting, hands shaking. I started the engine and flipped on the headlights. That's when we saw it. The creature was on the bank, about 30 feet away, caught in the beams. It was tall, over 7 feet, with broad shoulders and long arms ending in webbed hands, like frog paws, but bigger, with curved claws. Its skin was pale, almost translucent, coated in a layer of glistening slime. The face, if you could call it that, had no nose, just a wide mouth full of jagged, needle-like teeth. But the eyes, those red eyes stared at us, unblinking, like they knew exactly who we were. "Go! Go!" Ralph screamed, smacking my shoulder. I threw the car into reverse, tires spinning on the gravel, and floored it backward, the headlights still on the creature. It took a slow, deliberate step forward, like it was testing us. Then, with a sudden jerk, it dropped to all fours and started crawling toward us, its mouth half open, letting out that guttural roar again. I swerved the car in a clumsy turn, nearly hitting a tree, and sped down the dirt road, branches scraping the windows. We didn't talk for a long time. Joe was gripping the dashboard like his life depended on it, and Ralph, in the back, was muttering something that sounded like a prayer. We left everything behind: the rods, the bait, the cooler, even the boat. None of it mattered. Nothing was worth going back to that river. We got back to town around midnight, exhausted and still shaking. I went home, locked every door and window, but I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those red eyes, that mouth full of teeth. The worst came the next morning. I went to take a shower, and when I turned on the water, it smelled strange, foul like the river. I looked at the drain, and I swear I saw something moving down there, a small shadow trying to crawl up. I haven't gone back to Salt River. Neither have Joe or Ralph. We barely talk now, like speaking about it might bring that thing back.